I'm just wondering, like, right now, where they're having to go underground with their language, right? And they're trying to have to hide from the courts and the lawsuits that are happening, the way that they're trying to do, like, race-based and gender-based, whatever, identity-based hiring. How are they going to go from where they're having to hide what they're doing from the law right now to changing the law enough that they'll be able to institute, like, some sort of identity-based pricing schemes on whole? Right, that's what I'm wondering. How do they plan on getting from where they are now to that? Robbie Starbuck here. I brought him up before, and I did make a post on one of his previous posts, trying to inform him about what BRIDGE is. This was a Trojan horse to inject left-wing policies into corporations all across the world, and it's done nothing but divide people. Unity is found by ending these divisive policies, period. And it's like, I don't know this guy, right? He's got the gusto, he's on the right track. And so I responded with saying, I see how you're talking about this as a Trojan horse to push left-wing policies into corporation. However, it's a bit more insidious. My brain cells rub together enough to know that I probably shouldn't immediately include how this is Marxism, but I feel like he's probably smart enough to know that it is. They wanted to make DEI the DNA of companies and every worker share in spreading the ideology so they get used to doing the work in their personal lives as well. And I've shown this video multiple times, and I genuinely hope that maybe I can give him a lot of the information that I've dug up on BRIDGE, because it's been a wild ride, and I feel like I'm the only one beating a drum. And he says here, the latest HR association in the world just announced that they're dropping equity in DEI and reverting back to inclusion and diversity. HR people are losing their minds over it. SHRM says they're making this big change to address the current shortcomings of DE&I programs, which have led to societal backlash and increasing polarization. Check out the unhinged responses from HR people here. And I'm going to just go ahead and say, since Robbie Starbuck has no idea who I am and has not responded to any of my messages about BRIDGE, what are the odds that he doesn't know that SRHM isn't actually getting rid of DEI initiatives? They are just changing the language in order to obfuscate what they're doing further. And that these people who are commenting in anger on their LinkedIn post are just useful idiots who patrol this ideology mindlessly without actually knowing what's going on. Oh no, back to the drawing board. So the LinkedIn post, it says, we're going to lead with inclusion because we need a world where inclusion is front and center. And that means inclusion for all, not some people. Everyone has a right to feel that they are being in the work or belong in the workplace and that they are included. Today, SHRM announces an important shift in our approach to inclusion and diversity. Effective immediately, SHRM will be adopting the acronym I&D instead of IE&D. The strategic decision underscores our commitment to leading with inclusion as the catalyst for holistic change in workplaces and society. As SRHM President and CEO Johnny C. Taylor Jr. shared in his SRHM 24 main stage address, this new focus highlights SRHM's role as the foremost expert and advocate in workplace inclusion and diversity. Do you really think for a fucking second that the foremost expert and advocate in inclusion and diversity is going to about face and be like, you know what, actually, we just realized that this is racist against white people, exclusionary of heterosexuals, and misandristic against men. This is just like when Tim Pool played that Charlemagne clip, but he only played part of the Charlemagne clip. And he was like, look, even Charlemagne is denouncing diversity initiatives.
Diversity initiatives don't work, are racist, and highly offensive. Here we are. It's mostly garbage. Iconic black radio host Charlemagne the God trashes DEI while guest hosting The Daily Show. It was actually a pretty good segment. I think it's maybe 8 years too late, but it's fairly good. He basically says, dude, nobody who goes to a diversity segment enjoys it. They're all sitting there going, this is some BS.
You see, Tim, I know it's important to give morale to people, but it's also important to know what's actually going on. You don't want people to feel like they're winning so much so that they stop paying attention, that they stop thinking, well, if it's already going away, I don't need to pay attention to DEI. I don't need to deal with any of this. I can just go back to playing video games. Where if he had finished playing the clip, Charlemagne then went on to say, DEI does not go far enough.
We don't need corporate DEI. Yes, we want diversity and equity and inclusion. Real DEI is only going to come from black leadership. I don't know how to do it because I'm not a black leader, but I do know how to tell if it's working. Just keep an eye on right-wing media. The more they're freaking out, the more progress we're making.
And he's literally saying exactly what the BRIDGE initiative is. So I knew Tim was wrong, but I didn't know quite how wrong Tim was until I saw Matt Walsh's video. Enough. So I'm just left here with like these are people, both Starbuck and Poole, who should have more of a grasp of what's going on politically than a brain-damaged fox woman on the internet. How the fuck do I have more knowledge on this? It reminds me of some companies have started to push MEI, meritocracy, excellence, and intelligence. Yeah, we talked about that because BRIDGE put out a couple of articles in their smart brief about that terminology. All 4 companies provide more details about their diversity goals and actions in separate reports. Those documents, sometimes labeled impact reports or ESG reports, tend to be published on different timelines than annual reports. Many other companies have kept their language on DEI initiatives unchanged in annual reports. Companies weigh the pros and cons of disclosure with the knowledge that financial filings are a forum to communicate not only with investors and regulators, but also with competitors, suppliers, employees, and other stakeholders, said Ivy Feng, an accounting professor at the University of Wisconsin who has studied diversity disclosures. What gets disclosed gets managed, so if they don't say anything, it's more difficult for outsiders to find out what's really going on, she said. When they say something, then it's public. And when it's public, they can potentially be scrutinized by outsiders. Has the mask fully fallen yet? Because this is kind of crazy to actually, like, we knew that this is what they were doing, but it's crazy to actually hear them just say it. As SHRM President and CEO Johnny C. Taylor main stage address, this focuses on the highlights SHRM's role as the foremost expert and advocate in workplace inclusion and diversity. By emphasizing inclusion first, we aim to address the current shortcomings of DE&I programs, which have led to societal backlash and increasing polarization. There's no way that he believes that they're actually dropping equity when in the same fucking post it literally says, our commitment to advancing equity remains steadfast. Equity will be integrated under the broader inclusion framework, continuing to be a priority in our strategy and leadership decisions. SHRM is excited to lead this initiative as the next step in our enduring commitment to fostering better workplaces and a better world. We encourage you to adopt an inclusion-first approach within your organizations and join us in creating meaningful change. Let's drive that change together. Adopt I&D today and be a part of the movement. So what I'm imagining here, right, extrapolating on all of the knowledge and information I have from what the BRIDGE framework is, this inclusion-first approach will be inclusion as in everyone in the company will be pushing these ideals. It's not going to be inclusion as we know the word inclusion. It will be inclusion into our ideology that you will do at work and eventually get used to and then push at home and in your free time. DEI programs are not to blame for this, writes Ben Griffin, he, him. DEI programs are under fire due to bad faith actors in our continuous culture war, seeking DEI programs as something they can attack for political points. SHRM acquiescing to those bad faith actors only emboldens them. This is a shameful decision. And what Ben Griffin, useful idiot here, doesn't know is that they're not capitulating to quote-unquote bad faith actors. They are subversing language so that they can continue pushing what they've been doing all along. And in addition to this, he is correct. This is a culture war. But he is on the side of the people pushing it. He is on the side of the attackers. He is on the side of infiltrating in Trojan horses. I didn't even notice. Ben Griffin is a fucking change agent. What? These titles are so dystopian. Just say all lives matter and get it over with. Stop beating around the bush with this kumbaya sad song speech. This is embarrassing for y'all. Dropping the equity. Really? See, what the useful idiots and true believers TM understand is they know, right, that the diversity language means less white people, less males, less straight people, which is why some of them with poor reading comprehension are just reacting to buzzwords instead of actually reading what's being said to them. Nothing is changing. Karen UNNG, I don't know how to pronounce that name, I'm sorry. She's a DEI advocate. SHRM wants to go backwards, just like the country. What else are you walking back on? Just like the many wrong decisions from SCOTUS. How are you driving equity without actually calling for equity? So sort of like invite me to your barbecue, but not realizing I'm potentially vegan? Okay, SHRM. Do better. Hashtag sus. Hashtag so beta. This is my own opinion, of course. Like, how are you going to advance equitable practices if you aren't calling it equity? Like, I don't understand what subversive language is and how you've changed language over the last 30 years. I'm just going to get mad because you're not calling thing anymore? I hate these people. These people are crazy, dude. SHRM is aligning with MAGA. Yeah, they're aligning with MAGA because they say they're committed to equity, but they're not going to use the word equity so that they can go around all of us calling their shit out. Sunshine Clemens, the co-founder and co-president of Black Lives Matter, SPI, you were already leading with inclusion under IE&D, so you're just stripping away the equity focus, it appears. Quite disturbing. I just attended your annual conference in June, so I'm sure this announcement was held until after that event passed. I find this disturbing. I recently reached out to the certification process, but if you're no longer leading with equity, it's hard to imagine why I would want to connect deeper with this organization. I don't understand, right? Like, I can't get into the mindset of like a demoralized, propagandized person like these people are, right? So I don't understand how just seeing that one sentence, right? How just seeing we're adopting the acronym I&D instead of IE&D. And then later, equity will be integrated under the broader inclusion framework. Our commitment to advancing equity remains steadfast. How do you read this first sentence and lose your fucking mind? Like, it's literally just like an animal responding to stimuli. Like, there's no thought behind it. It's insane to me. It's hard to empathize with such madness. It truly is. It really is. And so I decided that I wanted to look up a little bit more. Johnny C. Taylor here, right? Johnny C. Taylor says, in a world loud with discord, the quiet strength of civility can change everything. SRHM is starting 1 million civil conversations to champion respect and understanding in our workplaces and communities. Why civility? Because it's the language that unites us, breaks down barriers, and builds bridges. Let's create a culture where every voice is heard and valued.
We're a society in crisis. But what if we turned our discord into dialogue? What if CEOs, CHROs, and politicos were catalysts for civility? Civility is, after all, the sweetener that takes the bitterness out of toxic disagreements. At SHRM, we know people in businesses are at their best when they lead with civility. So join me in starting 1 million civil conversations to shape a better workplace and a better world.
Oh, that's interesting that they're calling it civility now. I have a feeling we're about to hear the word civility instead of equity a whole lot more. Ugh, the fucking sibilants. Civility, get back to work, peasants. I love this, say the comment section. How many followers does he have? 9.7 thousand? This only has 17 likes, 3 comments. This is embarrassing! Shurm's job is to help companies better manage their human resources. I would never show this clip to my CEO and executive team. They would laugh and I would be embarrassed. Get back to basics, Shurm. You're losing credibility with crap like this. I don't know what side of the political spectrum Mr. Davis Goodwin is here, but Shurm is trying to obfuscate their language. Some companies like Amazon can come fully mask off. They're too large to fail. That's why Amazon can put in their briefs, yeah, this is what diversity actually means. Fuck off if you don't like it. You can't do anything to us. They're called civility, a value of the far right last year. And then, run towards the storm. That was my advice at SHRM 24. I had the opportunity to discuss the cyclone of changes coming for HR. AI's reshaping of work, reskilling demands, and rising incivility and the challenges to IE&D. We must bring our people through the coming storms. And you might recognize this language from, again, when I read articles off of Bridge Smart Brief that I posted screenshots of to Twitter as well, where they're talking about how to get through the quote-unquote storm of backlash that equity, diversity, and inclusion are facing right now. And now they want to tackle it with civility. So let me bring up the video here.
Those words, those lyrics, I didn't know my own strength, and we are not built to break. You know, it seems hard to remember now, but exactly 4 years ago, 4 short years ago, we had a moment. In the darkness of COVID, things were finally starting to look better. Do you remember? Early 2020 had been so hard. We lost our friends, we lost our loved ones, many of us lost jobs, but now the cases of COVID seem to be slowing down.
Already sounds like a priest,
Summer
yeah?
was coming. We looked forward to businesses opening again, not wearing those masks, right? Being outdoors, relaxing our social distancing. Maybe, just maybe, we'd made it through. And then George Floyd was murdered.
There it is.
Then the pandemic surged again and again. Layoffs came, then massive rehiring, then the Great Resignation, then quiet quitting, then the explosion of AI into workplaces. When we didn't know what we were facing, we didn't know our own strength. I didn't, and I'm pretty confident you didn't. We just didn't know what we could handle because we'd never been tested like this before. It's not lost on me.
And once again, listening to his words while knowing the background of the Bridge Initiative and what they're trying to do, it comes across as a lot different than just a guy talking about workers in general. You could sort of understand the ideological drive he has behind the words he's saying.
Each of you, while you were all bringing our workplaces through the chaos of those 4 years, you were dealing with your own challenges.
Is this a speech from this year? Yes.
Life. Trying, for example, to engage your children through a horrific pandemic school experience. Losing friends and family to COVID or suffering from long COVID yourselves. Families were ruptured by ideological differences, driven there by self-serving media. And the recession, it hurt so many people we love, especially young people who seem to have lost hope. Oh yeah, it's been a tough 4 years. But you know what? We made it through the storm. We did it. We survived.
We did it.
We did it with the strength we didn't know
we did
had.
it, Reddit.
And guess what? We are stronger now. HR's influence has grown significantly on every stage. We've proved to people that we can work in a variety of ways and places. We are starting to get our arms wrapped around our new sources of talent and new ways to skill up. It feels like the worst is behind us. But the thing about storms, you like that?
Jesus Christ.
They have a way of coming back. And my friends, a storm is coming for HR. I want you to hear me clearly. A storm is coming for HR. And this storm, this time, it's not time limited like the pandemic or an economic slump that you'll go down and out of. It's going to disrupt our workplaces, the lives of our people, and the health of our businesses continuously for
Oh No, they want us to get rid of our DEI initiatives, all of those lawsuits. They're shaking up all these companies. Some of them are afraid of how they're going to continue their commitments to DE&I. Some of them are worried, and so that's where we need to step in and show them how to keep pushing this ideology without getting caught up in the courts or a nasty, nasty far-right conspiracy theory boycott.
Decades to come. And it's not one of those one or two change storms. It's the worst kind of storm, one that comes together with many forces. They'll come together at one time. The scientists call it a polycrisis. I'd never heard that term. But a polycrisis is like Gaza, Taiwan, Ukraine, everything at once. That's coming.
This is literally the HR Marxist ideologues Holocaust.
Coming to the workplace. It's marked by disagreement, confusion, and suffering caused by multiple concurrent problems that together will have a massive and negative effect on all of us. And HR, for good or for bad, we're going to be right in the middle of this polycrisis. Forced to upskill 1 billion global workers at a time when the state of learning and education here at home and abroad has never been more fragile. We aren't ready for the full impact of AI on jobs and work. And I'm very sorry to say, but very, very tough times are coming for many people we know, especially the most vulnerable among us, including our children. And incivility and discord at our workplaces are growing every day, every year. We have a decisive election day approaching. It's gonna get ugly. People are mistrustful of each other and the systems we live in and that we work in. We hold outright contempt for our neighbors. It's not that I don't like her, I'd prefer not see her. I have contempt for her. And if all of this were not enough, and very close to our hearts, DE&I is under a microscope of scrutiny.
Oh.
Can you feel it? So what's the plan?
I need that thunderclap to show how important it is that DE&I is under a microscope, but we gotta go underground, baby. We gotta make sure the normies are still on board with their ideology. We need that cultural victory. Do you hear me? We are the warriors who are pushing this to make better change, to get rid of incivility in these companies. Skin color, dude. All right, so around here is when he starts talking about the DEI stuff.
We created a new chief data and insights function. Hired a ton of people. We hired a head of knowledge. We even brought on full-time labor economists. This is not your grandma's Shurm. This is the 21st century Shurm. Okay? So now, it's time to look out for the storm within. 4 years have passed since the pandemic began. It took just
SHRM is how they
years
pronounce
for
their
a
acronym.
radically different social contract to take shape. You see, we've gone from COVID to conflict, from looking outward to face a global existential crisis to turning inward to bitterly nursing our grievances. After all, we're at a point, we're in this country, we're as diverse as we've ever been, yet as diverse.
Yet, by the way, as you know, we're diverse as we've ever been, yet, but it's not changing, don't notice.
Divided as we've ever been. If it's not red versus blue, it's men versus women. It's urban versus rural. It's black versus white versus brown. Immigrant versus native. Blue collar versus white collar versus pink collar. Millennial versus baby boomer. Generation Z, and now the alphas. Yeah, 6 generations in the workforce for the first time ever. And all of these people, deep down, they all want the same thing.
The fuck is a pink collar? I have no idea what a pink collar job is, I'm gonna be honest with you. Everyone's skipping Gen X. Yeah, Gen X doesn't matter, apparently. Pink collar is sex work, or sex work is not real work. Probably whores! Why do whores get their own label?
Living, to care for themselves and their families, to enjoy personal freedom. We're actually more the same than we're different. But people these days have gotten ugly. And there are a lot of theories around why this is the case, but I don't think there's a single cause. What we've left with, and what we're left with, is trauma, fear, anxiety, uncertainty, misinformation, anger, and isolation, and outright contempt for each other. That's the storm, HR folks, that we're facing.
We pushed a little too far, too loudly, so we gotta reinforce our commitment, but without making these creatures angry. We gotta make sure we do it without them noticing. If they can capitulate to our ideological demands without noticing that they're doing it, well, we can just live in harmony.
168 million people in the U.S. workforce. Guess what? That's half of the U.S. population.
Wait, hold on. Pink-collar worker is someone working in the care-oriented career field or in fields historically considered to be women's work. This may include jobs in the beauty industry, nursing, social work, teaching, secretarial work, or childcare. That makes a lot more sense than it just being for sex work. Thank you for the description.
To work every day, and they bring this stuff with them.
Oh, wait, hold on. What was that?
They claim people in the U.S. workforce. Guess what? That's half of the U.S. population. They come to work every day, and they bring this stuff with them. And it erupts in both small and some devastating ways. Civility is under threat at work.
And we could have civility at work if we would all just work together to push the same ideology. If we were all just dedicated to diversity and inclusion, no one would feel excluded. And then once you learn how to deal with this at work, you can go home and bring it to your dinner tables. Teach your family how to be less aggressive and more inclusive. Teach your friends. If we all thought the same, we can finally be diverse.
And it's been growing for some time. We've tried to ignore the noise, but it hasn't worked. I was actually with Emily Dickens, who's here in the room somewhere. We went to go visit the EEOC vice chair. And we were meeting with the chair a couple of weeks back, and they reminded us the EEOC predicted this. Civility stuff is not feel-good stuff necessarily. Commissioner Feldblum famously said, workplace incivility often acts as a gateway drug to workplace harassment. Did you get that? Workplace incivility is a gateway drug to workplace harassment. So this is not, let's all—
What the fuck is he talking about? I can't even like put bridge language. Like, I get it. If you haven't seen my previous streams on Bridge and you're like lacking information, I could just sound like a crazy person, like talking about what he's actually saying. It's like, I'm sorry if you're lacking in that information. Can they pay me to be extra civil, right? We got that California rule where they pay you to not commit crime.
All kumbaya and get along. This is real. We here at SHRM can see what's going on now in real time with our new civility index. And if you haven't checked it out, you have to, because it measures incivility in your workplaces by region, by types of position, by gender, by race, everything. It's amazing. And let me
An incivility white sheet, eh? I would like to see your incivility index. I'm sure it's got no correlation with any of the other diversity indexes we've looked at recently.
I'll tell you something right now. We know that the temperature is rising in the workplace. Our thermometer tells us that it's getting hot out there. Our research predicts that U.S. workers will experience or witness over 24 billion acts of incivility at work this year alone. 24 billion. We know that—
Oh no, not the microaggressions. Oh no.
Nearly 2/3 of U.S. workers have experienced or witnessed incivility in their workplace within the last month.
Yeah, I just don't believe you.
1/3 believe workplace conflict will only increase over the next 12 months, and definitely over the next 4.5 months. Worse, they're telling us that they don't think HR can or will do anything about it. That's what the qualitative research is telling us. Let that sink in. They don't believe. This is a big problem. 2/3 of your people are witnessing or experiencing it, and they don't believe that we'll do anything about it. Workplace incivility is dangerous. It's dangerous for obvious reasons, because people will end up fighting. That leads to violence.
I don't understand why the people pushing the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at work would believe that HR is not on their side, considering the HR people have been playing this game for far longer than probably the individual workers have. Violence!
But there are some other more dangerous and subtle, but equally dangerous things that can occur.
Oh, tell me the dangerous
situations
things.
like healthcare. A nurse who's been subjected to poor treatment by her colleagues and by her supervisor. Is that the person you want taking care of you? Public safety, police officers who've been subjected consistently to attack. Is that the person you want responding to you when you need them?
Is he trying to drum up fear that because of these microaggressions in the workplace, because DE&I haven't gone far enough, the people taking care of you won't give you the best care because they'll be spiteful because of the rejection of their ideology in the workplace? That is kind of a crazy leap. That's kind of crazy. And also, he's not entirely wrong, because we read last year about a nurse who specifically gave worse treatment to white people. She would specifically have to prick them multiple times because she would miss their veins on purpose because she wanted to inflict pain on them. We've read about people who actually embody this kind of like sociopathic behavior.
Manufacturing jobs, let's go across the whole gamut of our workforce. Manufacturing jobs, heavy equipment operator, crane operator. You want them to have a bad day? It doesn't work like that.
No, it does work like that, but those are more affected by the competency crisis, where you're hiring people based on checking boxes of race or gender or some other immutable characteristic, instead of hiring someone who could actually do the fucking job. The massive myth of the two equally qualified candidates isn't going to stop the Boeing planes from falling out of the fucking sky.
An employee subjected to incivility at work day after day is now stressed, angry, and fearful. And this is a time bomb. HR, we're in a special position. We're in a position better.
It's only a time bomb because you have promised these people that their nonsense grievances will be listened to and that their ideology will be the dominant one. And you haven't been able to do it fast enough for these true believers, TM. So they're kind of angry. They're kind of worried about all of the backlash, not from people talking, but the actual lawsuit backlash.
Then community, church, peer groups, our leaders, because we have our employees for 8 to 10 hours a day, even if they're working virtually. And what happens at work can profoundly influence them. Just think about it. Again, I told you, 168 million people in the US go to work every day, 4.5 billion people across the world. 4.5 billion people who are subject to the positive experiences that we as HR can deliver to them. HR, we can own this. We have to own it. So let's embrace the true impact of our...
I don't believe anyone has ever been positively influenced by HR, because HR don't work for you, they work for the company. But I'm sure some of these preachers that are in HR positions that talk about microaggressions and the power of equity, I'm sure they make some of the employees who are the useful idiot types feel good.
Work on society. Okay, so in 2024, we have our work cut out for us, no question. That's why I'm asking everyone who works, every one of you, whether you're in HR in this room or not, if you work, to practice having civil conversations. 1 million of them at least. And I'm not saying on an individual basis, Tim, but
it's going to be the job of everyone at the workplace to push the moral imperative that is DE&I.
Million civil conversations, right? As workplace leaders, you will help
What
us
is that
have
noise?
and spread these conversations, because 1 million we know is never enough. We need billions of these conversations happening worldwide. Shurm has created and curated all
My keyboard
you need
exploded.
to
I'm
start
sorry.
Your own civility at work campaign. Check us out at shirm.org to get started. Okay, so let me finish by preparing you for one more big storm. And I've alluded to it already, but this is serious.
This is serious, chat. Get ready.
That we're in a backlash moment for DE&I. DE&I has gone from well-intentioned to weaponized, and it's making all of us crazy. SHRM and HR must step in. I know it's easy to say that's someone else's problem, but let me be clear. SHRM and the HR profession must step in. Broader society is asking us to help sort this, and workplaces are demanding that we fix this vexing social issue. Because if we don't, others will. And you know, I'm a lawyer by training. The courts will step in and solve for it. So all you who complain about the courts,
You can give me butt scratches like I'm a real pet! Again, He's saying we need to keep pushing DE&I. We need to double down our commitment to it. We just need to make sure the lawsuits go away.
Calculate yourselves, then it will end up before a judge, and he or she will make the decision for you. So we need to get in the front of this storm, run into it. But I think we have to be honest with ourselves. And if I step on your toes, I apologize. But if you're going to have a conversation like this, you have to be honest. We have two fundamental challenges when it comes to running into this storm. One, many of us, HR professionals, don't really understand or even agree at times what DE&I is. Right? I know you don't.
And this is something not Cheryl Dijja, on that DE&I After 5, like YouTube channel we watched, there was, I think it's Northeastern University, I might be misremembering, but there was a professor that had an interview with the lady that runs the channel. And that professor talked about how, to some people, they're not as committed as they should be to DE&I. Maybe I can bring up that video really quickly here so I can like kind of refresh people's memories, because I don't
the value of that work. I also think like if people go either turn off their computer or return home or air in their communities and nothing's really changed, then that's where it's this, you know, well, it's great that we do it between these windows or within this context, but have we really created the social or cultural or community shifts that ultimately, I believe, will benefit the broader society?
It's for the greater good,
and that's where I think like there's sort of this, you know, almost like this, we rub close to it, but we just can't get there.
Yeah.
And so when you think about it, like if for any of us who live the work, which can be problematic as well, because then when are you taking...
The phrase live the work is a terrifying phrase. I guess as absolutely scary to think about.
You know, rest or care, but also like when you're living the work, you're engaged in it in all aspects of your life, not just at work. So I don't know if that helps kind of make some of the distinctions a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, the word that came to me as you were speaking was embodied, right? Where it goes beyond just checking the box of, I went to this D.E.I. training, checking the boxes to how are you embodying, you know, what you are learning and experiencing, and what does that look like outside of this place that is going to compensate you for this work, right? How are you checking the folks that are at your dinner table,
right,
or in your homes or communities, like outside of this work? Because that could be very scary.
Is she saying our lives don't matter compared to the HR job? No. The work that they are talking about is Marxist ideology. The work that they are talking about is making sure that everyone in a company collectively is pushing not just the tenets of DE&I, but understands the subversion of language that they are doing as Marxists in order to create a culture where DE&I tenets are part of the operationalization, that word fucking trips me up, dude, of a business practice. They're trying to make this the DNA of the company. This is so you cannot escape. It doesn't matter how much you or scream or cry that you don't agree with this, that DE&I is nonsense, that it's bad and you will never support it. If your entire company supports it, if everyone at your work is pushing towards that same goal, if they have transformed their marketing and HR departments into this fusion that pushes the message TM in all of their products, they have equity in manufacturing, equity in pricing, equity in availability, you're supporting that. You can't escape it at that point. So it doesn't matter if in your brain you don't agree, you will be forced into compliance in order to keep living. Because not everyone can afford to quit their jobs. Not everyone can afford to stand up and speak out at work. But the problem is that we need more people to be standing up and speaking out. Otherwise, this is going to be the future. All companies will push the same message, will have the same ideology. It will be in all of your entertainment, from movies to TV to sports to video games. You will be living in this dystopia. which is why I've been beating the drum so hard on needing more people to understand what BRIDGE is. Because once you understand BRIDGE, looking at the broader picture of all of this other shit involving DEI makes a lot more sense. And in addition to that, reading BRIDGE's initiative and the updates on what they're doing primes you for knowing how they're going to change language ahead of time. Like, before this guy came out talking this month about fucking civility, we had already read articles back in fucking April about how companies and HRs need to change their direction, change their language, make it harder for conservatives to bring lawsuits against your company, make it harder for people to notice what you're doing, because the commitment and the moral imperative to diversity, equity, and inclusion is more important than any one individual. It's more important than any one company failing. You need to take these sacrifices for the message. A people leader explains how to push past the anti-DEI narrative. There's that language again, people leader. You're going to be seeing that a lot in the coming months, I have a feeling, as they move away from directly calling people DEI officers or diversity, equity, and inclusion style job positions. Diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts are under fire as of late, but those in charge of them are far from turning their back on the movement. Since 2022, 40 anti-DEI bills have been introduced targeting higher education institutions, as well as practices like mandatory DEI training for employees and required diversity statements in hiring and office programming. The negative sentiment around DEI has left many people leaders questioning what the future of inclusion initiatives look like. Sometimes race-based discussions, wow, so literally racism, pretty much. That's what critical race theory is. The work never ends, Wagner says. Wow, they keep repeating that. We may have to change some of the nomenclature, but we still have to advance our objectives. And there's ways that organizations can do that. We may have to use subversive language again because people are noticing too much, but don't worry, our work is too important and it never ends. We have to keep doing this. You will be assimilated. Even if you are not a true believer, you will not be able to escape the tenets. You will comply. We are no longer asking.
The perfection, and it's like, look, you know, it's not about the perfection, but it is about a commitment, and that commitment is unwavering. And we're going to learn every day about a new community or a new group or a new set of language or whatever it is that we need to do better, and just keeping that open mind and perspective to saying, like, well, how we've done it is not the way we're likely going to be doing it the rest of our lives. And I mean, so it's nobody, I don't think anybody has ever said this work was easy that I'm aware of,
or if they did, they're not doing the work.
They're not doing the work, unfortunately, right? And they're not living it. And again, not from the perspective of one shouldn't have, you know. So
basically, this is exactly what the other Mr. Mans was talking about in his thing, where he's like, oh, you know, some HR officers can't even exactly decide on the definition that they're using for DE&I. We got to agree on exactly what we're pushing here in order to work as one unit.
Like that, but that's the reality. And part of it's because 30 years ago it was diversity, then it was diversity and inclusion, then it was diversity, equity, inclusion, then it was diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, then it became belonging. We just kept adding stuff to it because we were trying to solve for the problem, and we didn't get to the root of it. There's not even clarity about diversity. Does that mean just underrepresented groups from a civil rights standpoint?
I like how he talks about the evolution of the acronym. I'm glad that he puts it out there, you know?
Or does that mean all of the 30 or so different dimensions of diversity, neurodiversity, etc.? We're not even clear about that, and we don't agree.
I like how he mentions the 30 dimensions of diversity, because that is something that the BRIDGE IMAX also works off of. They have 30 dimensions of diversity, and they have 72 axes of which those 30 dimensions of diversity are branched off of. And that is where you find the equity of pricing and the equity of availability. Those are the two scariest things that the IMAX talks about, but the entire thing is just an overwhelming blurb of nonsense.
I meet very few people who have a common understanding of what equity even means. We were at the EEOC chair, and she said the name of the EEOC is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It doesn't say anything about equity. But we have now pulled this language. We've allowed others to define for us what this work is. And as a result, it's a problem. Our early models, here's the other problem, were binary. Remember how we grew up? You were white or you were black. You were old or you were young. You were male or you were female. You were American or you were immigrant. You were liberal or you were conservative. You were gay or you were straight. That was a binary world. We built our platforms, our ways of thinking about diversity and inclusion. We thought about it in binary terms, and that just doesn't work anymore. Interest in diversity goes far beyond traditional differences. There are now at least...
And that's how we now get those articles that we've read before. Just like, you're not Hawaiian enough to play this role in a movie. You're not black enough to get hired under equity anymore.
30, and I'm saying 30 different recognized dimensions of diversity. Things have changed over 30 years, and business, HR in particular, has done a very, very poor job communicating this change, much less responding to it. So, my friends, it's time for a revisit, a reset, and re-envisioning of DE&I.
Ah, yes. The great cultural reset. What a great plan. I'm definitely on board with this.
We don't need to eliminate it. For those CEOs who says DEI must die, they are lunatics. Like, that is insane. Of course, we have an incredibly diverse workforce, and we need this work.
We all know what diversity means, sir. And we support the CEOs who say DEI must die. I don't know where you found those CEOs, because I haven't seen them, but yeah, I would agree with them if they exist.
Only going to become more diverse. But we do need to rethink it in 21st century terms. At SHRM, for example, we now refer to inclusion and diversity. We're going to keep it simple. Yes, we're going to always focus on D, but we're going to lead with inclusion, because we need a world where inclusion is front and center, and that means inclusion for all, not some people. Everyone has a right to feel that they belong in the workplace and that they are included. Now, if we think the game that we've played over 30 years, which is to make some people feel badly about what they have done or their ancestors have done or whatever, if you think that's going to solve a problem, it didn't work over 30 years.
Look, guys, for the last 30 years, we've been telling white people, and especially white men, that, hey, you guys are the harbingers of a bad juju. You guys are the reason for all the ills in the world. We can't be dealing with you white demons. And that didn't really endear them to our ideology. So what we need to do now is sort of quell the fire. We gotta try and propagandize these white people that we have demonized. We're not gonna stop demonizing them, but maybe change the language a little bit so that they feel like they're safe with you, that they can help push our propaganda too.
So by definition, we've got to adapt a new approach. We're going to channel our inner buffalo, right? And help our workforces and our society get to the other side and realize all of the benefits of our wonderful diversity, because our diversity is our strength. And anyone who doesn't understand that doesn't understand business. But let's be clear. Putting a strong focus on inclusion and diversity right now is going to take some courage. In fact, I can imagine right now I'm going to be attacked online right now, this second, because there are people who think, let's kill this thing. We want.
This is like some random YouTube account with 68 subscribers. This was the only place that we could find the full fucking conference, all right? Learn with Kitten, I don't know who you are, but thank you for your fucking service, guy. If I get 355 views 11 days ago, all right, okay? Yeah, this guy is not going to get attacked online, because for some reason, every time these people put this stuff online, but it gets no views, because to find it, you have to do some, like, weird-ass digging to uncover it. And even then, when you uncover it, it's on random channels of people who archive stuff, like our fucking cute little Discord kitten here, instead of on, like, an official page. Like, that DEI After 5, that's not an official page for anything. When I found that, they had, like, maybe 5 to 60 views per video. The interview with B.R.I.D.G.E.DEI, when I found it, had, like, 38 views total. And B.R.I.D.G.E.DEI is the CEO of a conglomerate of a ton of powerful companies. I was just like, how the fuck is this shit so unseen? And I like how he also has to frame it as, I'm going to be attacked. Not, people are going to disagree with me injecting ideology and trying to convince people and subvert them. No, he's going to get attacked. He's not the attacker. He's not a general in the cultural war. This is a man who is not a useful idiot. He is not a true believer. He is someone who is willfully and knowingly lying to you. He is somebody that knows what is going on and knows what he has to say in order to propagandize more normies to get on his side. He might not actually believe in what diversity, equity, and inclusion does, but he does believe that by promoting it, his ideology will gain a foothold in these companies, and he will continue to get paid, and he will continue to have status. A literal false prophet, exactly.
Want it to go away. My friends, we can't be intimidated, but we have to have the courage of our knowledge and convictions, because IND can work. IND must work for all employees, businesses, customers, and the economy in our society, and we have to prove it.
Once again, I'm going to replay that section.
IND can work. IND must work for all employees, businesses, customers, and the economy in our society, and we have to prove it. We're going.
Bridge's tenet is that DE&I is not just a moral imperative. It must be in the DNA of a company. He is parroting the exact language that Bridge uses. He is saying the exact thing that they are saying needs to be done. And they have tons of powerful companies. Wait, so it's IED now? Don't focus on how they change the acronym of DEI. Don't focus on how they change inclusivity to civility. Don't focus on the changing terminology. Which is my one problem with so far everyone who has covered Bridge, is they keep calling it a rebranding of DE&I, and it's not. It's not a rebranding of DE&I. It is the next push in what DEI is. It doesn't matter what acronym DEI comes in. It doesn't matter what the foil on the box is. Bridge is the push to normalize these practices in everyone's everyday life.
To run headlong into this truth with everything that we've got, and I need your help. Hello?
Like, hello?
Maybe you don't agree with me.
That's literally a please clap moment. Holy shit! Oh my god! I was like, oh, I've been saying all these buzzwords. You're supposed to react, audience. Clap for my buzzwords!
Listen, we've become more, not less diverse. The future of IND is in our hands. These changes are on us now, and there's a shadow over our workplaces. And the spotlight's on us. People are wondering, does the HR profession have the right people? Do we have the juice? Can we be trusted to manage the merger of AI and HI? Or to fairly decide how fairness gets done in the workplace? Can we keep our employees safe, especially from each other? And we have a lot of work ahead to prove that we can do this.
What do I mean by keep employees safe from each other? What a weird thing to say. What a strange thing to say.
For the last 30 minutes or so, I've been talking about our businesses, our people, and our economy. Now I want to spend just a few of my final minutes focused on you. We in HR rarely...
Is this an ideologue or a narcissist? Both. Because once the beautiful utopia is ushered in, he is not going to be part of the elite class like he expects to be. He is one of the ideological preachers that will also be gotten rid of because they are forward-thinking and know how to change things.
Engage in self-care. We're so busy taking care of everyone else. We're so busy making sure that everyone is in a good place. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about HR professionals. And I want you to do something with me. First of all, imagine a time, just imagine a time for me, when you were going through your own storm. Maybe recently, or maybe...
I just realized how fucking horrifying the background looks. Like, watch him. These are all like raindrops, right? But like, watch him walk past it. When it's zoomed in, it looks like a whole bunch of tormented faces carved in a rock side.
This is about you all 26,000 of you and 340,000 HR professionals around the world. But I really want you to dig into your memories. Remember a time when your life was overwhelming, but your work with people had to come first. Maybe your partner was pulling away from you. The person that you loved so much said, I don't love you anymore. Yet you still had to show up every day and practice great HR with a smile on your face and a broken heart. Your parent or your grandparent who raised you was dying a slow and painful death, right?
Wait, why is it gotta be slow and painful? Wouldn't a death of the family just be enough? What the fuck?
One you had to watch every day. You worked all day, 8, 10, 12 hours, and then you had to go from your workplace to a facility to take care of him or her. You watched this. Yet, every day you had to dig deep. Despite working as hard as you can, and we've all been here, you worked for a jerk or a group of jerks, right? And no matter what you do, they don't value you or what the HR profession does. Yet every day to that very organization, you show up at work and you convince your employees that the company is a great place to work and that leadership values them. Knowing all along that's not so, but that's...
You've been so good at lying this whole time. You need to pat yourself on the back for being such a good liar. We just need you to lie a little bit more, and that's why I'm here, to emotionally manipulate you.
Part of your job. How many of you can relate to that? This is, today or in the past, this is the world that many of us live in. Imagine your very worst storm. Well, you made it. You're here. You got through it, or you're almost on your way. You're on the other side, or you're well
oh my
on
God,
your way.
look at that. Look at the sunshine. We made it.
And that's what we're going to do for our people. Because the storm is coming for them through you. We, HR leaders, are the lifeline they will hold on to. Sometimes we're all they have. We and our organizations will give them a living and a future.
What is this fart huffing aggrandization? I was just like, us HR are the warriors fighting for these people. They are hiding behind our backs as we champion diversity, equity, and inclusion. You are important. Your lives matter.
Pathetically, we have to bring them through this storm. And it would be very human of us all, maxed out workers ourselves, to step back, check the forecast, wait to see what happens. And it would be very human, all of us, to head for shelter, find another job, change professions, go to safety and wait for the all clear. But I'm asking you to be more than human. I'm asking you to join me and choose your destiny.
Wouldn't you like to choose your destiny, chat? Wouldn't you like to be better than just human? You too can be an ubermensch if you would just join hands with me and lie to more people. This is a moral imperative, and you can be part of the solution. Wouldn't you want to be part of the solution on the right side of history? Champions of the underserved? That can be you. You can be that champion.
Choose the courage to run into the storm, the lightning, the thunder, and the changes to come. And like the buffalo, you're going to come out of this better, wiser, more alive, and stronger than you ever thought you could have been. Because you were not built to break. Thank you. Thank you for the honor and the privilege to serve you, the 26,000 of you who are chiming in, 340,000 people around the world. God bless you, and thank you for this opportunity to lead this amazing organization.
What the fuck? Thank you, dear preacher! Can I get an amen?
This concludes today's general session. Doors for tomorrow's general session are at 7:30 a.m. right back here at the main stage. Have a great rest of your day at SHRM 24.
Oh, thank you, robot lady. Politics are the new religion. I was just like, God damn. So